Hello YouTube and welcome back to Be a Loser. In this video we discuss what foods you should eat on LCHF and what foods to avoid. So as we discussed previously, depending on what kind of LCHF diet you're trying, the key is that they are low carb, moderate protein, and high fat. So with that in mind, let's start with a simple food guide of what to eat, what to avoid, and then we'll discuss the foods much more in depth towards the end of the video. Generally speaking, you can eat as much natural fat as you like. That is to say butter, cream, and many kinds of oils. Be sure to add fat to everything that you eat. It's often very difficult to actually eat the proper amount of fat that is required for LCHF. So be sure you're adding it in as many ways as possible. All meats are good, and you should feel free to eat as much as you're comfortable with. But remember that we want moderate protein levels. It's very easy to overeat protein, so pay special attention to this. Again, add in healthy fats when eating meats. Fish and shellfish are great, and as we'll see shortly, some are better than others. Eggs are really good and are an easy way to get protein in your diet, especially if you work out. Some people are concerned about the cholesterol in eggs and often ask how many eggs they can eat in a day. Well, according to dietdoctor.com, you should limit yourself to no more than 36 eggs per day. Vegetables are great, but as a general rule, limit yourself to those that grow above ground. There are exceptions, and we'll discuss it in depth shortly. As far as dairy products, heavy cream is excellent, as well as pure butter. High-fat cheeses are great and are generally your harder cheeses. Just be sure to check the label. There are several dairy products to avoid, and we'll touch on them in a moment. Nuts in general are great, with a few exceptions, and berries are also fine in moderation. And of course, you can feel free to drink as much coffee, tea, and especially water as you like. Try to drink the coffee with heavy cream if you don't like it black. As far as alcohol is concerned, this should really be taken sparingly and on special occasions. Alcohol in general will slow your weight loss. But if you do want to have a drink, it's best to stick with red wine, dry white wine, whiskey, brandy, and vodka. For mixed drinks, make sure there is no sugar. And again, limit alcohol consumption and drink in moderation. Don't forget that LCHF reduces your ability to metabolize alcohol, so be careful. Okay, so on to foods that should be avoided. None of these foods should be a regular part of your diet. First up is the true metabolic poison, sugar. It really is the plague of the modern era, so avoid it in all forms. No sodas, sports drinks, candy, juice, pastries, donuts, ice cream, cereal, etc. Try to avoid most artificial sweeteners as well, and no chocolate with a notable exception. You can eat chocolate that is 85% cocoa, as the fat content is very high and the sugar content is very low. Be aware that this has a very different flavor from a traditional chocolate bar, but is far healthier for you. As the cocoa percentage goes up, 90 to 100%, the flavor does change. A small bit of high cocoa chocolate per day is a good source of healthy fat. Next is starch. It's second only to sugar for its negative effects on your body. Foods to avoid: bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, oatmeal, and again cereal. And whole grains are not really better, they're just not as bad, so try to avoid them altogether. Avoid legumes and beans, as they are very high in starch, and again, all root vegetables. Do not eat margarine. This stuff is just plain bad. It's high in omega-6 fatty acids, and margarine has been linked to inflammation, allergies, and asthma. Real butter is simply far superior, healthier, and a free source of fat, meaning it has no carbs or protein. Do not drink beer. Beer is in essence liquid bread. Anything in liquid form is absorbed faster by the body and has a significantly more profound negative effect. This includes all fruit juices. Drinking a glass of orange juice is not like eating 6 oranges. It's like drinking the sugar of 6 oranges. Drinking beer is like drinking the starch of a loaf of bread. Okay, and another one that's difficult for people to come to grips with is fruit. Fruit is very high in sugar. It's the natural equivalent of candy, and it's been cross-pollinated over the years to have even more sugar. What you buy in the grocery store is not what our ancestors ate. Avoid it as best you can and try to eat it only in season. Also, be wary of low-carb products. Avoid low-carb versions of high-carb things, so cookies, bread, and pasta. Try to also avoid things that say net carbs, as these very often have sugar alcohols, which may have an effect on your blood glucose levels. Net carbs should only be total carbs minus fiber. Anything else should be counted as carbs. There was actually a company that was fined $8 million for representing the true carb content of their products. You can find the company name very easily with an internet search. And those are the basics of what to eat and what to avoid. Just read the label of everything that you buy at the store. A good guideline is to buy foods that have no more than 5% carbohydrates in them. Okay, so nitty-gritty time. This section, as well as the charts, are courtesy of the Ketogenic Diet resource page run by Ellen Davis. As I said earlier, the majority of the calories that we eat will come from fat, but we need to make good choices of which fats to eat. Vegetable oils, as well as mayonnaise, can cause stomach discomfort in large amounts. These oils typically have omega-6 fatty acids, which we mentioned earlier. So avoid eating too much or cooking with them. Most nuts have these fatty acids as well, so try to eat them in moderation. Notable exceptions are walnuts and my personal favorite, macadamia nuts. Good fats include butter, coconut oil, avocado, and egg yolks. Avoid hydrogenated fats like the aforementioned margarine. If you do use vegetable oils, then try to find cold-pressed versions of them and store them in the refrigerator. Fats to eat are avocado, butter, chicken fat, ghee, which is clarified butter, olives, olive oil, coconut in general, as well as seeds. For protein, we generally want cuts of meat that are higher in fat. Try to find grass-fed meats and vegetarian-fed free-roam eggs. Look for wild salmon, tuna, and shellfish, as these are high in omega-3 fatty acids. If you don't like fish or shellfish, then consider a fish or krill oil supplement and take it with food. Proteins to eat are beef, pork, poultry, seafood, bacon and sausage, peanut butter with no added sugar. Generally, oil on the top is best. Just check the label. Moving on to vegetables. Leafy greens are best, so eat as many of them as you can. Avoid high-starch vegetables like corn, peas, potatoes, and sweet potatoes. Also limit sugary veggies such as tomatoes, which I know is a fruit, carrots, peppers, and squashes. Good vegetables are avocados again, asparagus, broccoli and cauliflower, celery, cucumbers, mushrooms, and more. As far as dairy is concerned, use heavy whipping cream and full-fat versions of sour cream and cottage cheese, nothing light. Most cheeses, as well as full-fat cream cheeses. Full-fat yogurt is okay, but hard to find. Read the label to be sure it doesn't have added sugar. Usually Turkish and Russian yogurts are the best. Also, most nuts and seeds are fine, but be careful because they do have omega-6, as we discussed. Use nut flours for baking, which I'll cover more in the cooking videos. Try to avoid cashews, pistachios, and chestnuts, as they are typically higher in carbs. And don't forget your spices. Spices do have carbs and can derail efforts on a strict LCHF or ketogenic diet. So be sure you know the carb counts of the spices you're using. Be particularly aware of spice blends such as poultry and steak seasonings, as these often have added sugar. That's going to do it for this video. Our next videos in this series will cover common LCHF myths. There are a lot, so you don't want to miss it. As always, I encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook, as well as our website, bealoser.today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep being a loser.